Welcome to another exciting Java class. It turns out it's snowing for a change. I don't know if you noticed, the weatherman said it would all stop by noon. So they were wrong again. And I'm going to put this on their permanent record. Turns out apparently it is not snowing sufficiently for us to cancel class, and as a result you're all here. And so am I. So there. Hey, how about that homework? Everybody have an ability to do the homework? You got like the time off the web? You got a build working properly? You're not using Eclipse, are you?
I'm using Eclipse. Yeah.
You're using Eclipse. And you got the build to work? Not in Eclipse. So you're using Eclipse, but you didn't. Okay. Should we review the homework and see how you guys did? Does that sound like a good idea? I'm not hearing a no.
I brought pie for break time.
You brought your pie?
No, yeah.
Did you buy enough for everyone?
Yeah, there's enough pie and donuts for everyone.
Good. So I see the CR320 course is here. I would love to review a homework. Who wants to volunteer? Don't all shout out at once. You claim to have done this, right? I'll just take it from the top then. Needs grading. Let's see. Kyle, oh, look at you. You're right on the top. How'd that happen? Grade all users. Yes, let's do the grading now. So what happened? It's an RTF. Man, what is? You made a video. Well, I like a good video as much as the next person. So let's look at your video. I'm liking this idea of looking at your video. So here's a video of some code. What's NTP UDP client? So that's user datagram protocol, network time protocol. Is this playing, or do I have to click something here?
See the button on the right?
No, I don't. Oh, there it is. Oh, did you record this at some horrendous resolution that I can't see? Okay.
You're not going to see the console output.
I'm not?
No.
Do I have to scroll down a little bit? Okay. Time info. Did you write time info?
I used the Apache Common.
Oh, okay. So you got you're typing the comment in real time, I see.
Yeah, I forgot to do that first.
I'm afraid your video has the bandwidth of a teletype. Well, this is all very exciting. I think your video needs editing.
I mean, I wasn't trying to make a masterpiece video.
No, you succeeded.
Just trying to get the point across.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. It seems to be working. So you use the Apache Common library. Does that library have another name? I know Apache Common is a big name. Maybe there's a sub-library in that.
The network transfer protocol.
Oh, so there's an Apache Common Network Time Protocol library.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I hadn't known about that, so that's nice that you found it. And we got a nice example. It's very elegant. Did everybody use that approach? No. People had different approaches. What else did you try, Brian?
Basically what you already set up. When I read each character at a time.
Okay.
And then parsed out stuff I wanted, which was just date and time information, and then put it back out.
So this was done in binary, wasn't it?
Well, what do you mean by binary? I used the socket and I used the buffer, the string buffer.
Okay. So let's have a looky-loo at your code here. Oh, here you are.
That's 1, 2.
It's the wrong. It says it needs grading. Is it possible I'm looking at old homeworks that have been resubmitted? I thought I graded homework 2 already.
I had a late submission.
Oh.
That's fine.
Alright, so what do we got here? Is there a nice way to download this, or do I just have to cut and paste it or something?
Cut and paste. I just noticed there's some garbage imports though.
Garbage imports.
Yeah.
Alright, well let's do the following.
I don't know why I'm importing QuickTime.
You imported QuickTime? Really?
Yeah, I don't know how that got there.
Alright, well let's have a looky at your little daytime server. So what we'll do, this will be our first socket example. I'll go into the date. Here's my atomic clock. Let's try yours. What's the name of this thing?
I believe it is daytime client, all capitals, day, not all capitals, but daytime client.
Okay. Now the way you clean this up on my system is Control-Alt-L, and you can optimize the imports. You can do rearrange the entries, but that never seems to do what I would like to see done. So it's somehow someone else's notion of what good style is gets done. And now we don't have all the cruft imported that you didn't need. That's what optimize imports does. Let's see now. It goes to daytime port, goes to time array, socket, for input stream, does a reader. Now he's doing one character at a time. In, let's see, br.read char, time equals time plus t. What does this do?
So the br.read gets integer, then I cast it to it as a character, and then I just append it to the string. And I do this once at a time until the integer reads a -1, which means it's at the end of the buffer. The reason I use this is because read line as a function of br was not working properly for me.
Isn't that interesting?
So
Alright, so let's try and run your little code here. This looks like fun. That looks about right. So at the end of the day, what you really want is an instance of the date class, right? Because if you have a java.util.date, it will then become compatible with the rest of the API. So when you look at my my date client, which is over in here, you can see what's coming out, an instance of a java.util.date. So that's kind of a a critical factor. Here's one that works with an atomic clock, and I don't know if that's working anymore because of how they've changed things a little bit. But he's using a buffered reader, and he uses the read line, which you say isn't working anymore.
it wasn't working for me.
I believe it. So at the what I ended up doing was I did after I got the line, I did a parse date, and so then with parse date I was able to use a string tokenizer, go through the tokens, and then proceed to identify the date and time using the calendar instance, and then proceed to return an instance of the Gregorian calendar. And here's one where I set the system time using a batch file. And I'm thinking you're right. I'm thinking something materially changed, which is why I made this an assignment, because I couldn't get this to work properly either. Yeah, something happened to their server that prevented this from working properly. Let's just see what happens here. No parameters. Get date and time. Process string. I'm going to just sort of look at what's being passed to process line. Yeah, if s equals 0 length, then return. S out, Control J, enter, put in s. Let's run it again. Because I'm convinced that you should be able to get an instance of a date. And you can see what's coming back when you print the line. I'm not sure what 56714 means. Anybody know?
Something about the Julian date.
Did you know? Oh. Well, I can sort of see where there might be something in there that calibrates for how much time it takes for the packet to be transmitted across the net. So if you're trying to do things down in fractions of a second that are quite small, you need to take that into account. So if we were to read the directions carefully on how NIST is supplying the date and time from its atomic clock, it almost certainly has to give us information about how long it takes to reach us, because invariably that will take considerable time. Yes, Brian?
Yeah, I have a little chart here. The first 5 digits and the last 5 digits of the modified Julian date. And if you're looking for the number of milliseconds, ACTS is advancing the timestamp, looking for the network flag.
Is that 290?
It's the 2 zeros actually before the 290. The 290 is a coordinated universal time from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. It's the coordinated universal time.
How do we determine what that means? Coordinated universal time. Oh, well, I wasn't looking for a technical explanation. Just Google it. Oh, okay, that makes it good. I'm all about you Googling it. I think that's a very fine thing. So let's see now. If I print the time, doesn't seem like this is doing any parsing, right? Get time, process time. So there's nothing in here that's doing any parsing. It doesn't call parse date. So if I were to call parse date from inside of my own print statement, oh, it looks like I did that. Here's a parse date, but instead of setting the system time, what we'll do is we'll just print it. S out, Control J, enter, parse, P-A-R-S-E, date, and then we'll put in the date and see what it does. The question of whether or not that'll parse it successfully is another matter, because I didn't really isolate it. Didn't print anything. I think it must have thrown an I/O exception. You would think it should have printed something right up in here, right? First time through, it did print something. This is what it printed. That's nicely formatted. So we called get time, then we called process line. Now I'm going to put in a little demarcation in here and put in a quoted dash, and I'm going to write out parse date. I don't know if anyone went to this bother, but it's going to return something that allows you to do calendar computations. And parse date returns, seems, this is the string representation, and this must be the number of milliseconds since 1970 something. That's typical. Let's see, they've got a whole bunch of interesting things. Day of the month, day of the week, hours, daylight savings time, time zone. Oh yes, a date and a time are almost meaningless unless you know what time zone you're in. So we never take that into account. But when we look at an instance of a Gregorian calendar, it has to tell us that stuff. So that's kind of neat. So my parsing program seems to be working now. I'm not sure why it wasn't working before, but you guys have all gotten through the process of doing it, and I've learned something. I didn't know Apache Common had a nice interface. That's kind of cool. Does it return a Java util date or a Gregorian calendar instance?
I think it was Java.
A Java util date.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And anybody else have a different approach? No? Rich? Am I hearing a murmur?
No.
Oh. You use the calendar. Okay. Nobody else tried anything different? All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing your attempts. I think that's very interesting. So right now what we have done, let me just sort of summarize. We've used sockets to do TCP/IP programming. The TCP/IP programming that we did allows us to take a domain name, in this case a NIST time server, resolve it into an IP address, take the IP address, pass it into our socket API, open up a connection, read a line, get the time and date, decode it, hopefully, and then I can claim that we've used what's known as a stop and wait protocol. Okay. Stop and wait protocol means that you put in a request, and you're very familiar with this intuitively, then you have to stop and wait as you look at the spinning beach ball of death. And then the amount of throughput that you have achieved is 0, while the request transmits through the network, gets processed by the server, then gets responded to across the network, and then comes back and rendered on your screen. So stop and wait protocol doesn't work in parallel with any other requests, right? If you were working something multi-threaded, you could ask for the time and then ask for it again before the first time comes back. Not that that would be particularly productive, because eventually they would see your program as doing a denial of service attack. And that denial of service attack would cause your IP address to become blacklisted, at which point you would be blocked from further requests. Most servers of publicly available services will block you if you request too many things too quickly. So what you need to be sensitive to, and this is true if you're doing data mining for finance or just going out and getting the time, if you hit somebody's server too frequently, and I don't know what too frequently will be, it'll depend on their server and their policy, they're going to see your machine as infected or worse, malicious, and they will block you because they have to protect themselves. This is part of what people have to deal with here in the new age of security. It's no longer a kinder, gentler world. Denial of service attacks happen all the time. And it's pretty easy for people like us to inadvertently create a loop that polls a time server way too frequently. Because just imagine, all you needed to do was put it in a for loop, and blammo, you've brought down their server. Unless they protect themselves. And presumably NIST protects itself. And they would see what you're doing as a form of hacking, and they would find you, and they would get you. Well, I would if I were them. So, as it happens, these are fairly serious things, and you want to take them seriously. It would be unethical for me to warn you, to not warn you, right? I have to tell you this is important. You have to be a good network citizen when you write these programs. Okay? So that's, just thought I'd throw that out there. And just in case you didn't know, you now have a very powerful gun. Don't shoot yourself in the foot with it, because that would suck. I'm not sure how else to say it. Anyway, when you do any kind of data mining, including the kind of financial data mining I'd like to discuss with you today, we need to be somewhat aware of the load that we put on other people's free servers. And that's kind of important. One of the things that I thought was interesting is that Yahoo has changed its API in a really big way. And they've made it much harder to get data as a result. I don't know why they did that. Very strange. They used to be easy to work with, and because they changed the API, they proceeded to break all of my code, which, that's kind of stinky. So what happens when you go to Google and you start Googling, basic questions like, how do I get a price quote for a stock? They'll give you a pointer to the old Yahoo Finance API, which is no longer supported, and none of their code will work. Beg your pardon? CNN. Do they?
Yeah.
Okay. And do they have an API? Oh. So you're looking for a CNN Finance API? I didn't know about that. That's like Java friendly and everything? Maybe there is one. Okay, we can try and hack that. Yeah, what I really want is CNN. Let's try and get CSV stock quotes. Let's try that. Well, this is what used to work at Yahoo. It was a really simple thing. You could take something like that and it would return this, which was perfect. That's what used to work. Now if you put that in and you copy it, and that's what I used to do. Does it still work? Maybe it does. Let's see. That's not bad, actually. That's good. That's really good. That's just what I want. So what do we have here? This is called a symbol, a ticker symbol. This is another ticker symbol. You all know about ticker symbols? If it's 3 letters, or 2 letter, or 1 letter, that's on the big board. That's the New York Stock Exchange, or Amex, the American Exchange. If it's 4 symbols, then 4-letter symbols are NASDAQ. I think NASDAQ is, actually, you know what? I think NASDAQ is now Amex. I think NASDAQ took it over. So that rule may no longer apply. But it used to be the case that if you wanted to go, like Red Hat used to be RHAT, and they were on NASDAQ. But then they switched to NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, and so they changed to RHT. That's the big board, as they say. So when they talk about an over-the-counter stock, that's a 4-letter symbol in general. So GE, whose symbol is GE, that's a NASDAQ symbol. If you look at Apple, AAPL, well, that's a 4-letter symbol, so that's NASDAQ. So if you are wondering about symbols and where they trade, that's it. In a free market society, for every buyer, there must be a seller. And for every seller, there must be a buyer. In eBay, you're very familiar with the auction system. You put a bid in, and people then outbid you until the item gets sold, or the time lapses. In the stock market, people ask for a certain amount, those are the sellers, and other people bid a certain amount, those are the buyers. And so whenever you get a price quote, you always see a bid price and an ask price. The other kind of price you're going to see is the last price. The last price is the price at which the equity, the underlying, traded. You'll also see a timestamp. The timestamp is the time at which it traded. Often you'll see a volume, which is the total number of shares over which the stock symbol has traded. There are other non-free market entities which will allow you to conduct large trades, large blocks of trades. These are called dark pools. when I was your age, they didn't have dark pools. But here in the new age of programmed arbitrage, there are these separate exchanges which have non-public bids and non-public asks, and they are able to trade large blocks of stock. And this often moves the market in interesting and unexpected ways. A couple of things have happened over the years. First thing is, it used to be retail customers like you and me ran the market, and for every buyer there was a seller, and that's it. Now what we have is called program trading. Program trading overwhelms. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It overwhelms the market. And now what has happened with program trading is you have a computer program, an algorithm, a deterministic algorithm, which is then used to deploy bids and asks in order to be able to trade in vast quantities, billions of shares a day. And this is in a day that is from 9:30 until 4 o'clock, a short day. And usually what happens is these algorithms are trading against one another. There are those individuals who will tell you that a stock price is a random walk. But in fact, what it really is a chaotic motion that's very sensitive to its initial boundary values. So, as a result, when you have deterministic programs trading against one another and dominating the market, you could, in theory, do some sort of prediction if you had the algorithm and knew the initial conditions. Otherwise, it kind of looks like a random walk, which is probably statistically valid in terms of how you might treat it, since we really don't know the underlying mechanisms involved. If we knew all of the underlying mechanisms, we could probably make better predictions. Used to be, because it was retail investors who did all the trading, people would use crowd psychology to do the predictions. And therein lies what's known as the field of technical analysis. So in technical analysis, when people do the predictions, they're looking for fear and greed to be balanced against one another. And you can almost envision how this might work if you had a pack of prey running along the open savanna and then a pack of lions coming in after it. The whole crowd sort of veers away, trying to get away from the fear-induced predator. So this kind of psychology led to what's known as the Elliott wave principle, a few different other psychology-based mechanisms for doing technical analysis. And we can do that in Java, and people do that in Java, so it's kind of an interesting field. So what I thought we would do here today is see if we could do some basic stock quotes. And now if I look at this, let's see if we can get a proper stock quote from Apple, AAPL. Gee, you know, I type and nothing happens. AA. Why can I not get echoing on the screen? Is it possible that I'm... Did I do something wrong? I can click here, AAPL, but I can't click in the text field of Google?
It's really bad.
It's bad. Yeah, it is bad. No question, it's bad. So here we have the open, the high, the low, the volume, and a market cap. There's also a Yahoo version of the similar thing, and presumably the open, yep, it's there. So let's see if we can compare the bid and the ask. This bid and ask, if we look at these two things, they're being updated in real time. It's kind of cool, right? And then the other thing is there's a difference between the bid and the ask, and the difference can be like a penny, right? Or it could be very large. And as it happens in the case of a very, I'll call it high volume stock, very liquid stock, the bid and ask prices are relatively small in their difference. So this is a fairly efficient market. The spread between bid and ask is quite small. The interesting thing is, when you look at the bid and the ask, it doesn't quite match up with the last, right? You'd think, well, if the bid is 517 bid and there's an ask of 517, then it shouldn't show 516 for the last, which is on the top. So there may be, I mean, it says real-time price, So how is it possible that the real-time price is actually not the same as a price that's between the bid and the ask? Right? That doesn't seem correct. At least not to me. Let's try a different one. Let's try IBM. So that says 183. And yeah, he did it again. The bid and the ask is pretty high, and yet 193 is the last time it traded. And what is the did they give me a day stamp? I don't see a time stamp here. Oh, it's right up here, 231, but it doesn't show the last trade. Or maybe that is the last trade, which is between the bid. Well, let's see. It's not quite between the bid and the ask. Yes, sir.
I mean, it does make sense that the bid is going to be lower than the ask.
Sure, but why should the last not be between the bid and the ask?
Because the ask is constantly higher than the bid, you know?
Maybe the last and the bid and the ask are different, and therefore no trades have occurred yet. They're just adjusting. See this times 300? That says someone is bidding to pay this amount with a 100-share block. So now I think what we can do here as Java programmers is try and make use of some of the information that we've gotten off the web in order to get a proper price quote and put it into a data structure. Because these prices aren't going to do us much good unless we can populate our data structures with the data information that's in them. So what shall we do? I like the CSV thing going on here. That's pretty good. You know, that's giving us information. Let's see if we can do this. Copy it. Now, how would we go about formulating a URL that gives us the CSV price quotes like this? And what are we looking at here? I'm not convinced I understand the 750 right in here. The 1550 looks like it might be a last, but it's not clear. Let's put a symbol in and see what happens. AAPL. Enter. Now he says waiting for download. So that's not good. See, this is the part where I thought things just didn't seem to be working anymore.
See that hyperlink? I found that Yahoo does offer a solution.
Yeah. But this is just telling me sort of like what it all means if it works.
No, that's how to put it together. The URL.
I don't understand. This URL isn't working, is my point. Right? I mean, here it says it's supposed to work by doing CSV S equals a bunch of stock symbols separated by a plus, a bunch of special tags, right? And that's what I did, right? I mean, this is.
So it's returning those special tags for those two.
If I say copy and paste, and then put in a stock symbol, AAPL, that should like work, right? No? Oh, you think it has to be capitals? Oh, no, it's not. AAPL. Enter. And it just spins, right? This is not returning. Took a while. That's interesting. But now maybe I can get something. So here's Apple. That's not too bad, actually. Now, what are we looking at here? These symbols aren't decoding the way I would think they would, the way they should. I've got my own, mechanism for getting stock quotes, maybe we should just take a look at it real quick and see if it still works. Because I was kind of shocked when stuff stopped working. So what I had done was I had done some financial data mining of my own to get stock quotes. So here, to get the quote URL, I use this class called quote. And just in case you're looking for it, it's in finance.stocks.quotes. And what I'm doing for get quotes is I throw in a symbol, and then I want to go and get the quotes for the different symbols in an array. So I take an array of symbols and get all the quotes at once, and then it returns an array of quotes. And those quotes should be able to do things that enable me to do displays, like get the last, the date, the change, the open, the bid, and the ask. Basic parts of what I would call a stock quote. And this is what I would expect to have returned. And when you look at what comes back over there, you can see here's Apple at $55 a share. That's when I wrote the program. 2004 was the date. Imagine if you'd bought it at $55 a share then. And it was 4 p.m., so it must have been after the close, because the stock market closes at 4. And then it says here the change was up at $1.81. The open was 54.44. The bid was 56.11. The ask was 53.99. Apparently the market had closed, so bid and ask often don't match after the stock stops trading. And then the volume, which is given as the total number of shares which has traded hands during the day. So that's what I expect to see. And that's typically what happens when you get a proper stock quote. And this is what I used to do in order to get a quote. Let's see if we can copy it. Maybe not. Copy. Paste. AAPL. And then there's the formatting string which follows. And it should be something like ampersand format S1. Copy. And we'll put it in. Paste. And that's what I've been getting. Classic. Alright? So what happened? Any ideas? Huh? Yeah, we had a new CEO. And they decided that stability wasn't their middle name. Time for a change. So if you look at that, and then you look at, for example, this thing that says finance D : quote CSV, I wonder if I can copy that part and replace it with the paste. I don't think that's going to work, but I'll try it anyway. Nope, he's not happy with that. Oh yeah, look at this. We're getting some quotes. Always open files of this type. Open. Now, what have we got here? Oh, that looks pretty real. So they changed the URL, but we were able to get back to some semblance of sanity, which is actually to the good. So at the end of the day, it's not a terrible change, but it is a change. When they change the code like that, you have to change the embedded strings, which, you know, I guess that's part and parcel for these sorts of things. Let's see now. What is the difference between quote string 2 and quote string? Doesn't look like quote string 2 is actually being used, does it? As a matter of fact, let's see if this works any better. What's the difference between this and what we have here? The quote CSV and symbols? What else? The formatting at the end? I think what happens in a case like this is you have to start to experiment. You have to write a socket client, go out to the web, grab the data that comes back from the CSV, and then print it and see what you're getting. I don't see any other way around it. You just have to experiment. And now that you've gone through the process of doing that sort of thing, I think you guys are probably in good shape to give it a try, right? Because here we see what happens when things come back in an order in which they're not expected. You get the number format exception. So this code will no longer work. Right? And all I did here was ask for a symbol. And we actually asked for a collection of symbols. It would work just as badly, I assume, with only one symbol as it does with the collection of symbols. Right? Because he's getting strings coming back which are not correct. So how would you guys fix this? You got it to print something? You don't know what it prints?
I mean, I see it, but I don't know what it is.
Well, here's an interesting thing that says get URL strings. Okay, and get URL strings. You know, that just sounds like something that's generally useful. It says it takes a URL as the input and returns. Oh, look! I even wrote some Java doc. It returns an array of string, right? So what that means is if you pass it a URL and you're getting data as CSV, then each row in the CSV data will be in one element of the array. And then it's up to you to figure out how to parse that and turn that into reasonable semantic information. Get URL strings. So get URL strings is in URL utils. URL utils is in net.web, and so that to me is, you know, that's a critical thing. And here's the deal. I can do, let's see what we want to do here. Let's comment some of this good stuff out. What we'll do is we'll make a URL. And then what we'll do is we'll pass in the URL that seemed to work before. So let's copy that, pass it in, and now what do we do? Any ideas? So how about this? How about we just get one big URL string. That'll give us just one big string from this URL. We'll call it the raw HTML, whatever it may be, and let's just print it out and see what we have. So I'm liking this because what it's letting me do is it's giving me some generic tool that just says, given a URL, get some string that the URL responds to, and print it out on the screen. So now, having looked at this, what do we see? It's not CSV type data at all.
I think I found out where to get that type of data.
You did?
Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Look at the link right here.
Can you read it to me, or?
Yeah, I mean I can, but HTTP and then download.finance.yahoo.com.
Download, DOWNLOAD,
Yeah.
.finance.yahoo.com
/d/quotes.csv
/d/quotes.csv question mark
s
s equals. Okay, we'll try that. Good deal. Thank you. Missing format variable.
Oh, and then I kept the and format equals SL from the other one.
And
I just plugged it, like, into
format equals SL. It's very slow, isn't it? No.
I just plugged it into the other one, the quote.java, and it worked.
Well, I mean, I'm not even able to get a query back here. Is it an S1 or an SL? Because I just put a 1 in there for fun.
If you need a quote name in between that, do you have that?
I need a quote?
Yeah.
Is Apple considered a good quote? S equals AAPL? What'd you use?
I just plugged it into that quote.java.
Okay.
Just the beginning part, not the format.
Not the format.
No, I just up to the equal sign.
Okay, so I can get the equal sign away?
The first one.
The first one.
Including the first equal sign.
This equal sign.
Everything prior, including and prior to that equal sign, is what I plugged in for the URL that you had in here. Look.
I'm not understanding.
In this here that you had, I just plugged in everything up to that equal sign, and then I left that. I think it was. And it printed out this. I don't know if that's right.
Ampersand format equals, is that an L or an S1?
That's SL. But you had that there already. I didn't change that.
Okay. So, it just doesn't work for me, is that it? Because I'm looking at this URL, right, and I put it into here, and what do I get? See, download.finance.yahoo.com doesn't even seem like a machine name to me. But I guess that's what you got. How did you find download.finance.yahoo.com? You searched. Okay.
Yahoo Finance API. And then there was one that said Google Code, Yahoo Finance API, and then I clicked APIs, I clicked CSV API. And then I went to quotes.
So tell me what I should do to modify this URL to get a quote. Or better yet, what should I do to this code here in order to get a quote? Or you could upload your code, and then we could try your code.
Okay. I mean, all I did was plug in that to the quote.java. That's all I did.
Oh, all right. So here I am in quote.java.
Okay, so then go down to your main.
Here's the main.
Go into your URL get quote. URL.
Where do you see get quote?
Public static URL get quote URL.
This one?
Yeah. So instead of finance.yahoo.com/quotes.
Yeah.
Change to the thing like that.
Download. .finance.u
.yahoo.com/d/quotes.
/d/quotes.
.csv.
Is there a .csv after the? No slash. .csv.
Question mark
S.
S. Yep.
Equals.
And then quotation mark. You have it.
Quotation
You
mark
have it.
again?
No, you have it.
Okay.
Okay. And then symbol string plus, and then in quotes n format equals SL.
Plus, and then in quotes, ampersand format equals SL.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I didn't comment out the other stuff that you did. I don't know if that's...
And so then you're thinking maybe this will work. Oh, look at that. So they just changed the URL on us, which is kind of a bummer actually. But what are you going to do? Life in the big city. So in theory, you should be able to go and get a series of stock quotes here. Let's see if you can put in quote IBM, end quote plus, pick your favorite symbol. TSLA. What else? Anybody else got a stock they like? No?
CSCO.
What's that stand for?
Cisco.
Oh, Cisco, yes. So let's see if we can get quotes on these things. Wow. Looks like it's all working. Good deal. Thank you. That's very helpful. So I don't know if you guys all got that, but this looks like the new quote URL, and I'm thinking that it's a pain because it's not particularly easy, but we can certainly send this out to everybody. In theory, you should be able to create a kind of an interface that gives you the ability to work with your ticker symbols, and then add to and save your ticker symbols as a function of time. Let me see if I can get that to work here. So we'll go to data mining, stock data mining, and I used to have something that would give me all the stock symbols. I commented it out when it stopped working. This address book has a thing called the data mining URL. Let's see. Let's see if we can get the data mining to work. It's under the File menu. Oh, here it is. Data mining menu. Enter. And stock data mining. And this is what I used to do. Okay. Are people interested in learning how to use anonymous inner classes in Java, or do you guys already know how to do that? This is part of what I would call the command design pattern. This means that menu items know how to run themselves. So what I've done is I've given each menu item a facade design pattern capability. Before I go too far, do people here know what a design pattern is? I know we've talked about it before, but can someone tell me, just in case you want to try and remember? Design pattern? What's a design pattern? Yeah, model view controller is an example of a design pattern. Absolutely. Anybody know what design patterns are? Yeah, it's a design that you might say is common in its template. So for example, if I was going to design a suspension bridge right away in your mind you would know a suspension bridge has these big cables with stuff that hangs down that holds up the roadbed. If I said I was going to design a trestle bridge, right away you'd know it had crossed members that distribute the load across main members that then push the load against the endpoints of the bridge. So there are certain things that engineers do that are different from scientists. One of the things they do is they do design. They become schooled in the area of design. So as we proceed to discourse about the program and its architecture, we like to talk about the design patterns we're using so that we can communicate more efficiently with other members of our team. That's key, because when somebody on the team starts to talk about a design pattern that no one has heard of, then all of a sudden they have to learn about it, or else they are not communicating efficiently. So one of the things that you can do when you talk about design is you talk about the name of the design pattern, its application, and the time at which it would be appropriate to use the design pattern. One of the things that happens when people first encounter a word processor is they learn about interesting fonts. And then they suffer from a disease, which I like to call fontosis, where they try every single font they can find until eventually they create a document that looks terrible. But they've had this wonderful experience using every single font. And they use the Zaf Dingbats, and they use this, the other thing, and the Times, and the Times Roman, and then they try and compare it with Courier, and the Monaco, and the Chicago, and they use all the different fonts. Well, the same thing happens to people who first learn about design patterns. They say, oh, let's try this. I'll try Model View Controller, I'll try Singleton, I'll try Observer Observable, and they use them all over the place whether or not it's appropriate, until eventually they create this code which is so obtuse no one can stand it. That's not the same as fontosis. It needs an osis at the end of it. Perhaps I'll call it design pattern osis. So with design pattern osis, people become so enamored with their design patterns that they become insufferable and no one can stand them. Software architects suffer from this sometimes, especially when they haven't matured enough to know when it's appropriate to use the design pattern. So what I'm doing here is I'm using one design pattern a lot, and it's called the command design pattern. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to centralize the action that a menu item takes. And so what I have is geographically co-located the action for every menu item when someone selects the menu item. And I call these menu items run menu items because what they do is they make use of the runnable interface, and when they implement the runnable interface, they declare themselves as being abstract, leaving the runnable interface implemented but without a run method. So here's how that works. The run menu item implements runnable. Runnable has exactly one method in it, and it's run. Anything that implements the runnable method must know how to run itself. Anything which doesn't provide an implementation for the run method must be declared as abstract. That means to say, if you ever make a new instance of a runnable menu item, you must provide a way for it to run, so that when someone selects it, it will know how to run itself. The same thing is true for all of my run menu items, for all my run components. So I have runnable buttons, run checkboxes, run sliders, run menu items, run radio buttons. I have like 22 different run things. Now the reason I do that, the reason I map everything to this very simple interface is because the action listener system in the Abstract Window Toolkit and in Swing is way too big and has way too many listeners. So as a result, you can map everything to a single listener, simplifying the interface. And when you simplify the interface, it's called the facade design pattern. So now we have two design patterns. The first one is called the command design pattern, where elements know how to run themselves. The second one is called the facade design pattern, where you've simplified the interface to a complicated system. Nobody likes to try and remember, when they're beginners, the 20 some odd different listeners that are available for us in Swing and AWT. So what I've done is I've attempted to simplify the code somewhat by implementing runnable. And now when somebody selects on a runnable menu item, action performed is invoked, and then it can proceed to run itself in either in the background or in the foreground. If it runs in the foreground, it will block the primary thread of execution, which might be okay if it runs quickly. If it runs in the background, the program will continue to work. So that means to say invoking a run menu item can be an asynchronous operation. What does asynchronous mean? Yes, sir.
It doesn't wait, or it keeps. So if I make an asynchronous request,
Yes.
My code will keep running and won't wait for that request, as opposed to a synchronous request. It'll wait for the request to get back, and then you continue executing.
That's exactly right. Chronos. Anybody know who Chronos was?
Got to do with time.
Right. Greek god of time. Exactly right. And so asynchronous means out of time, and synchronous means in time. So when we start to think about developing graphic user interfaces, I like to think about ways in which you can simplify them. So here's my little data mining menu. And I've got this element in here called the stock viewer. And it's got its own little main. And what we'll do is we'll run it and see if it now works, now that we've modified our URL. And sure enough, server code response. Now, is this the right URL? Download finance URL. Server code response 502. What happened? So that's kind of broken now as well. I'm not surprised, because we just did a real hacky change to everything. Well, life in the big city. I'm not going to hang up the class on this one. I'll try and run it one more time just to see what this URL looks like. I don't think that's working very well. Let's try and run the address book program. Yeah, it looks like it's not working well at all. Bad news. Bad news all around. Not surprised. So I'm thinking this, that what we would really like to do is come up with a display for the stock quotes. There's something in here called a quote frame. No. He's having troubles. And here's something called a quote. Now the quotes seem to work, right? Last time we tried it. No, it's not working now. You have to restart IntelliJ in order to get a quote?
Something got messed up.
That's just not acceptable. Is it possible I can't get a quote at all here? IBM. Enter. Yeah, that's working fine. So I've got to say that we need a reliable way to get a quote. Right? Got to have it.
It's working for me right now.
Now it's working?
For me it is. Sometimes it lags a little bit, but
I'm not getting any output now. So it's not consistent.
I was until
Yeah, there's something terribly wrong with our quote facility here. So we'll have to go elsewhere to get our quotes.
It does it like if you wait, because it just did it for me too.
It does it if you wait?
Yeah. I don't know why, but
How long should we be waiting?
I waited like 30 seconds.
30 seconds for a quote?
Maybe our network sucks. I don't know.
Is that what it is? We want to blame the network for this?
Maybe. Just don't call the help desk.
I'm not going to trade with this.
Yeah, I mean, this is not. How would anybody find this acceptable? I believe, me personally, that if this is how the trading system works at Yahoo, we must not use Yahoo. Right? That it just doesn't make sense. No one would do this. Has it been 30 seconds yet?
I don't know. It worked for me.
I mean, this was working before and now it's not working, so clearly it's not reliable. So what I say is don't use it. You cannot rely on unreliable financial data. No one can. It's just worse than useless. So what we'll do is we'll talk about a stock quote a little bit in a very general way, and then we'll look for a different financial data source, not Yahoo Finance anymore. Because someone, the new CEO perhaps, has ruined it for everyone. That's too bad.
You really don't like that CEO.
Huh? Well, she just broke my program. So here, if we use Google instead of Yahoo, we have perhaps a different source of data. One, I beg your pardon?
Google took theirs down.
Google took theirs down?
Yeah.
You mean like since this morning when I tried it?
I searched Google Finance and it didn't work.
It didn't work?
They said we removed this product.
Well, I just used it this morning. Right? I mean, if you take this URL here, because I was searching for an alternative to Yahoo Finance, and if I say paste and go on that, it works. So, okay. It's hard to ignore you. You keep saying these things. So I'm getting data. Okay, I don't know if it's good data. I don't know if we care about this data, but I'm getting data, and it's coming back quickly. And it almost looks like I can parse this data. In fact, if I took this Apple thing and I put in, I don't know, plus IBM, would that make any sense? Yes. No. Not sure exactly how to do it. Is it comma IBM? Yep. Comma. So if I comma separate the data, let's try a different one. Someone said Tesla, TSLA, was it? Yeah, it's coming back right away and in reasonable time. So in comparison to Yahoo, which is now broken, I can use Google, which I think that's a fair alternative.
I searched like the Google developer thing, and it says that Finance API is deprecated, but has no scheduled shutdown.
So
I don't know if that's relevant to us or not.
would you like to use a different service?
We can use Google.
Okay, I'm just saying. I mean, you guys, this looks parsable to me. I've got the symbol in here. It seems like it's grouped together nicely. I have, the next set of items also grouped together with symbols. It seems to me like all the quotes are assembled in square brackets. So if I were to list out my quotes with commas, I'm thinking, this is something I could probably get a URL for. So let's try that. I mean, just for fun, because so far everything I've tried has kind of failed miserably, and I'm sort of bummed by it. So let's take this URL from Google. Okay. It seems to be coming back in a structured fashion, but not the same structure as Yahoo Finance. What we'll do is we'll get it as one big string and print it out. And there it is. What do you think of that? I don't have to wait 30 seconds, right? Yeah, I mean, something worked. Wow. I can work with this. First of all, it happened quickly. It says to me it's got a proper date. It looks to me like there are some interesting numbers in here. 5/16/83. I wonder if I should like go to... I'm so sick of Yahoo Finance. Let's try using Google and getting a quote. 516.58. So that's pretty reasonable. It says down $5.48 on the day. Go back to here, and I see, yeah, here it's down $5.23 on the day. So that's looking like he's giving me some real information here. I could make a data structure that represents this quote, right? And what I'd like to do is I'd like to make that kind of like an assignment. Ignore the ID number, I think. I've got a feeling I know what this is. $22,144. You know what I think that is? No, wrong. I was going to say, I think it's the company information key used by Edgar, where Edgar is the electronic data gathering archive. But here is this number, 3571, that's electronic computers, and here's the SIC, the company information key for Apple. And all of their filings come in electronically. So these are all the financial documents that you can get from the Security Exchange Commission, and you can get them electronically from the Edgar site. And some of those documents, you'll be interested to know, are available in HTML or in text, and others of the documents, like the Form 4s and such, they should be available in XML. But not just any XML, a financial interchange for XML markup language, which kind of makes them neat, because we can parse that. It's not free-form financial narrative. Yes, sir? Is that what it's for? Instead of using a symbol, you use the ID under Google?
Yeah, you can tell finding stuff.
But those IDs don't relate to the Security Exchange Commission ID. Okay. So E obviously stands for the exchange. T must be the ticker symbol. L must be the last. I don't know what fix and cur means. Could that be current? I don't know. This looks like the time for the trade with a date. Long time? Short time? I'm not sure why they do it that way. This looks like the amount it's down for the day, why they put it in. Maybe this is down relative to the L fix versus L cur time. I'm not sure what they're up to with that. And I don't know what the CP stands for. Could you guys parse this? Yes? How would you do it? Commas? How about the curly braces? The curly braces seem to... Oh, I see. No, there's commas nested in commas.
So like curly brackets, commas, and then take this colon.
Yeah, there seems to be a hierarchy here. The whole thing is surrounded by square brackets. Then comes the curly brackets, surrounded by commas. Then comes the within the curly brackets. So if you were to use a string tokenizer, you could tokenize based on curly brackets and go one whole record at a time, and then tokenize on commas. So a couple of ways to go. I'm liking this.
It's like based on like the ticker, like the T colon, and then take the next token.
Yeah, I mean, this is really ad hoc, because what you're dealing with here is somebody's idea of, you know, what efficient computer interfaced systems should return. But if I said, here's some raw HTML, it's really not HTML, it's really just text. And if I wanted to make a string tokenizer, st equals new string tokenizer, I could put in the string I'm trying to get, the raw HTML, and then I could put in the delimiter, which in my case is probably going to be a set of delimiters. How shall we do it? I think next token, if I just leave it like this, and then I say st.nextToken, I can put a delimiter in there. So I can say end quote end paren sem, stoken should return a string, and then I should be able to print it. I think that'll work for me. I could do a split string with right hand. Oh well, hey, look at that. It didn't work at all. Huh. Go figure. Any other ideas? Why didn't that work, I wonder? Do I have to put the delimiters in here? End quote. That should have broken it up, I thought. But it printed out the whole thing. Oh, you know what I think it did? Is it printed out the raw first, and then it printed out the last thing. That's what it did. There you go. Now it's working fine.
What did you tokenize it by?
I just tokenized by a right-hand curly brace.
So it prints everything before it.
So everything before it, that's one quote. I could have done a split string as well. If you did a split string, I think it would work like this: raw HTML.split. That should return an array. Put in the right-hand quote, end paren sem, and now you get an array of elements. String array equals, and now I think maybe you can do something like this: print utils.print. Put in the string array. That should do it for you. And there you go. So now you've got individual quotes, one per array element. And now you can parse by commas. Is there a better way to do this? Any ideas? Regular expressions? Rich, you're the regular expression guy, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
How would you get the ask and bid information?
I'm not entirely sure it's present.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see bid and ask on this. It's just not there. The question of why it's not there or how you would go about getting it, that's another matter. You can only get what they give you, unless there's another URL with more. I mean, what's this client IG thing? I think, Kyle, you're correct. The Finance API from Google is deprecated, and they're not supporting it anymore because I saw them say something like spring cleaning.
Yeah,
I know. What else? I mean, maybe there's a better alternative for getting quotes. And if you guys know about it, I'd love to hear it. Meanwhile, this is all we got. We got to work with what we got. Morningstar, that'll give us some stuff, but I don't know if that's what we want from Morningstar. Morningstar gives us holdings on mutual funds with more detail than normal. But this here is going to give us some quotes, and they'll be real time. So I'm thinking we've got enough to at least get some quotes.
We could use rooters.
I beg your pardon?
Rooters.
Who?
Rooter.
Booter?
Rooter.
Rooter?
Yeah, it's another one.
I don't know about that one. I think we're running out of time to experiment. I'll leave it to you guys to find other ways to get a quote. Instead, what I'll do is I'll create a new assignment. And what number are we up to now? I think it's 4, right? So homework 4, stock quotes. And now I think what we need to do is using the example code, or if you guys can find something better, your own URL source. So I'll leave it to you if you can find something better. Create a stock quote from a given create stock quotes. Yeah, create a from a given symbol. Your program should use a I'll call it numeric. What shall we call it? A data structure? I guess so. Use a class. Call it quote. And the fields should be numeric where appropriate. So, for example, a price should not be a string, but should be a float or a double. I'll leave that to you. So here's the example code that we did in class with a simple split invocation. And now what we'll do is I'll give you the this is what I use for a quote. And this is what I'd like to get from a quote. But unfortunately, we may not be able to get that easily from what we've seen so far. So if you look at it now, the date is an instance of a java.util.date. I'm using floats for all the numeric values, and I use a long for the volume because volume can be a very big number. If volume comes back with a suffix like m, you'll have to turn that into something like million. If it comes back with, k, you'll have to make it thousands. And those k's, hopefully won't be there. They'll just have a straight number that's easy to parse. Does everybody know how to parse a string and turn it into a number? Right? So if it's an integer, you can say integer.parseInt and pass the string in. It'll return an instance of a lowercase int. Right? Does this sound doable to people? I think what we'll do is let's leave it as it is. A single attempt, okay? And then due date, make it in a week's time. And we'll make it due at 2 p.m. What else? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Have you thought about the midterm?
Well, we can talk about the midterm, but let's ask if there are any questions about the homework.
Yeah, can you throw in unlimited attempts? I just messed up.
Unlimited attempts? You really need unlimited attempts?
I'll put it till 2 p.m.
How about 2 attempts? Okay?
Can you attach the code?
I pasted it in.
The one that we were doing from class.
Yeah, I just pasted it in.
Is it the one that? Oh.
I just pasted it in. All right, so what I'd like to do, since someone asked about the midterm, is have everybody put on their thinking cap about what we should do for midterm and take a break. So let's do that for I don't know, take a 5-minute break.